suddenly just felt like a chicken in a chicken coop, like a Matrix moment. I thought, okay, I don't think this is for me anymore, but what do I want to do? So I kind of started to think about giving, and giving was where my motivation was. And I thought what I'd like to do is to create a platform that makes it really simple for people to join in, give a little, but together make big change. So I took a sabbatical, didn't get paid, and that was 18 years ago. And then 7 years ago, I took on the CEO-ship. And since then, donations have grown by almost 80%. We've raised £8 million. We support 400 charities. Being able to be in control of your own company is amazing. I'd love to be able to say that I had a hand in curing cancer or Alzheimer's or stopping homelessness or hunger. And what I'm doing is feeding into that. And that's just electric. That makes me a really good person. I was one of the youngest directors in the bank. I kind of had this niggle. I always had this feeling that maybe this isn't right for me.
Ambition is not a dirty word. Impact is not synonymous with struggle. In fact, massive impact is absolutely possible with joy, fun, and sublime integrity. I'm Bianca Best, author and founder of The Burnout Business, and this is the Big Impact Show, where success meets grace. Today on the Big Impact Show, I am absolutely delighted and excited to be joined by Kate Frost, who's the CEO of Microhive. And Kate has a fantastic story of devoting her life to giving. So this is a beautiful example of success defined in a very personal and unique way. Thank you so much for being here today, Kate.
You're welcome.
How are you doing?
I'm doing really good, yeah. How are you?
Thank you so much for wearing pink and celebrating the pinkness of today. I love the fact that you have had a career that has pivoted from what perhaps would be a very traditional jump on the initial career ladder after university into philanthropy on a grand scale. Please share your beautiful story with our listeners and viewers.
Yeah, okay. So I graduated from Warwick University with a management science degree, and I joined Barclays Bank. I joined their graduate program.
Congratulations.
Thank
Not easy
you.
to get on
Not
a graduate
an easy
program.
job, and spent 10 years there working my way up the corporate ladder. I was really successful. I was one of the youngest directors in the bank, very much thinking that was going to be my long-term career. And then I kind of had this niggle. I always had this feeling that maybe this isn't right for me. And there came a moment where we moved to Canary Wharf, high-rise building, really up high, and all I could see were these rows and rows and rows of desks. And I suddenly just felt like a chicken in a chicken coop.
Oh.
I was just one of many, like a Matrix moment.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I don't think this is for me anymore, but what do I want to do? And I'd always worked with charities, so I was always either, trekking across the mountains for a charity, or I was organising lots of events in London. And I thought maybe that's where, my purpose is. But I started to reflect on that and thinking, well, why should I work for Cancer Research UK? Why should I work for Macmillan? How do I justify asking someone to give me money for cancer? That means they're not going to give it to Alzheimer's research. So I was a little bit stuck. So I kind of started to think about giving, and giving was where my motivation was. Actually, it wasn't really important where money was going. It was actually just getting people to give. And I thought what I'd like to do is to create a platform that makes it really simple for people to join in, give a little, but together make big change. And I started Googling. That's all I had in the day. And I came across a company called Pennies from Heaven, which is what Microhive used to be called. Mm-hmm. And that was just a simple concept of giving pennies through pay to charity. It was running at Barclays. I had never heard of it, so that in itself was a problem. Wow. So I contacted the founder, met him for lunch, and I realised really quickly that I could really help him. Like the skills that I'd learned in 10 years at Barclays could really enable his idea to grow and make the impact it wants to make. So I took a sabbatical from Barclays for 6 months, didn't get paid, worked with Pennies from Heaven, and then, leapt off the ship and became their first employee. And that was 18 years ago.
Wow. And
then 7 years ago, Anthony, the founder, retired, and I took on the CEO-ship. And since then, donations have grown by almost 80%. So we're growing. We're making a difference. We've raised £8 million. We support 400 charities, but we are hungry to do a lot more.
phenomenal. I mean, that is impact on a
Thank you.
stratospheric scale. Huge congratulations.
Thank you.
And that must be so fulfilling, knowing the work that you're doing is making a difference. Can you compare the emotional sensations of the work that you were doing when you worked at Barclays and the energy that you get from the work that you do today? What's the contrasting emotion and energetic fizz that you have?
Yeah, I think, well, running your own business in itself is such, for me, gives me such a buzz. You know, you're able to action anything you think about. So, you know, I want to go and approach this company about running Microhive. Whereas when you're in a big organization, you know, it's kind of decisions by committees, it's slow. There's a lot more judgment. I mean, I really loved working for Barclays. They've really grounded me, but you know, being able to be in control of your own company is amazing. And actually, I think the pull that I got from working in the charity space is, you know, when we leave this planet, I'd love to be able to say that I had a hand in curing cancer or, you know, Alzheimer's or stopping homelessness or hunger. And what I'm doing is feeding into that. And that's just electric. You know, I think that makes me a really good person.
It definitely makes you a really good person. It's probably useful if you describe the mechanic of the business so we can understand how it is impacting so many charities simultaneously.
So my job is to approach big organisations who employ lots of people, and I sell in the concept of people giving through pay. So an example would be Aldi.
Yep.
So I work with them. They said, yep, we want to do that, Kate. That's a great idea. And they then launched the scheme out to all their staff, and their staff can opt in to donate their pennies each month. And everyone in that organisation gives to the same charity.
And that has raised 8.5 million.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
And we're growing. We grew 20% last year. People are really keen to give still, despite, you know, financial circumstances. And employers are looking for more and more ways to support charities.
Yeah, absolutely. And to demonstrate that they care.
Exactly.
That's top of every business agenda these days. So you're an entrepreneur. You are running the business with incredible impact. There are statistics today that show that 44% of women that have launched their own business as a way to hop off the corporate career ladder to hopefully stem any threat of burnout, they leap into entrepreneurialism, and 44% of women are actually now feeling more burnt out and more overwhelmed because they're running their own business, and actually there isn't any safety of a team that can pick stuff up. And can you talk to me about how you manage the sheer vastness of being an entrepreneur with a million different work streams that you're leading?
Yeah, it's challenging. I can understand why so many women are under pressure. I think for me, the main thing is mindset. So I'm really lucky that, you know, the little voice you have in your head that mostly, for most people, is quite negative, like, you're not going to be able to do that, you can't do that, don't apply for that, blah, blah, blah. I've really trained the voice in my head to be like Kate's coach. And it's, I really believe that's a skill. I've learned that. I used to put Post-it notes up in my bathroom when I was in my 20s saying things like, you know, you can do this, you know, it's okay to say no, all these kind of affirmations. And that enables me to have clear boundaries with people. It enables me to say no to things, being really comfortable. And that voice in my head is constantly telling me, you've got this, Kate. Well done,
That's
Kate.
fantastic.
And I think that's something that people can learn. I'd also say I've prioritised self-care a lot. So it's really important that I look after me, because I know that if I go down, the business goes down, my family would go down. So I'm like really important. So for me, that's exercise or socializing, and I'm making sure I'm doing that every day. So I'm putting things down. I'm not going to do that today because I know I need to go and do some exercise, go to the gym, because that, you know, boosts my battery power. So that's kind of, what else would I say? I also believe very strongly that burnout often happens because you have this kind of overwhelming rush of emotions. And as human beings, we tend to kind of just react when we have all these emotions coming at us. And actually, what I've learned to do is really pause, hold the space, which is a really popular phrase right now, but it's really true, is when you're feeling overwhelmed, when there's another plate gone in the air that you've got to spin, is just to sit in it, maybe 10, 15 minutes, take a walk, think about it, maybe reposition how it's making you feel, and then you can respond to it. And actually, if you can do that, I think it enables you to maybe wear all these different hats in life.
Yeah. So despite the bedlam and the mayhem of all the different demands, because obviously you're a mum as well, you're actually finding presence within the chaos.
Yeah.
And is that a recent evolution of how you show up as an impactful leader? Or is that something that you also had in your 20s? Or was the 20s more the sort of affirmations, and then now you've got into new tricks?
Yeah, I think in my 20s I had a bit of the imposter syndrome. When I was at Barclays, there was a lot of really educated, academically rich people around me, and I thought, why am I here? You know, why is Kate here? But I had some coaching, and this wonderful lady told me about training this inner voice. You know, don't think you shouldn't be here. So that started that journey. And I think as I've got older, just reading more widely around the subject, learning different skills, different tools and tricks we can use. Yeah. You know, so that learning to hold that space when you suddenly become emotional, that's changed my world. Actually, with children especially, you know, when they come at you with all their emotions is, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually it's been scientifically proven that reaction we feel when an emotion bubbles up only lasts 90 seconds.
Right.
And then it melts and floats on, and then it's up to us to interpret how we actually manage that emotion that has arisen. So you taking the space to just be present and sit with it is a very artful way of managing the noise and the chaos, and grounding yourself actually back into your core strength, ability, earthiness, if you like. Yeah,
and if another problem comes at me, like another plate, you know, I'm kind of like, well, I'm not going to deal with that now because I'm dealing with this, and I'm okay that that's over there, and I'm not going to feel emotional. I'm going to worry about that maybe tomorrow. And it's almost like someone told me about allocating things to your future self. So I've got confidence in my ability to fix that problem. So I'm going to give it to Kate tomorrow. You know, she's going to deal with that. She's got that. I'm here.
So how are your confidence levels today, right now?
I'm a really confident person. I'm really happy. And a lot of that would have come through Barclays as well. Being able to talk to really senior people, you know, wide variety of people. That helps my business because I'm really happy to talk to the CEO of big organisations quite confidently. You know, they're just people.
That's such a good way of looking at it. They are indeed just people. And so you are having to self-motivate to pick up the phone and chase CEO after CEO to invite them to be part of your business. Clearly, you're incredibly motivated by the value set you hold around giving. Is there ever a moment where you feel exhausted by the hustle, or actually like you have to force yourself to stop because you just enjoy the game that you're playing, if we call work a game, which we should, because it should be joyful. Are there ever moments where you need to just stop?
Yeah, exactly. I got excited walking down the street here because I was looking at companies thinking, why aren't you doing more?
I love that. You just see a world of opportunity.
I take pictures of, you know, often shops will have, or we're raising money for Macmillan or something in the window. I'm like, right, I'm going to write to you tomorrow. You know, so it's relentless. I can keep going forever, but I love it. I absolutely love it.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, so that my to-do list is endless.
And so how do you self-manage to not keep contacting that company and that one? And that one?
Yeah. I guess, well, you can't contact everyone all the time. So I guess you just prioritise. So this week I'm going to do these things. That's going to give me my sense of achievement for this week. And going back to that self-care, I know if I don't do these things for me, then my battery will run low. So that's really keen to me to stop working at a certain time. All still there tomorrow.
And you're able to manage that because you're the CEO. You are running that workload. What happens when there is a curveball that slams into you, where life is happening outside of the business, perhaps, so children? How do you manage that juggle of unexpected, unanticipated stress that we know modern life includes? Yeah.
And I had that last year. So my dad was very poorly, and so I was looking after him. And all of a sudden I had this really weird feeling in my stomach for a few days. And I was like, what is this? What's going on with me? And then I was like, this is stress.
Wow.
I was like, this is new. I've never had this before. And that was an interesting time. And that I learnt then very much about setting boundaries. So that's how I dealt with that. So it's about setting boundaries about what I can do to help, what's possible, what you're asking of me. And I get that with other things that come along. It's saying, I can't do that right now, or I'll have to stop working for much of this week to deal with that. And running your own business, you can do that.
Yeah. It's
And
a privilege
yeah.
as much as sometimes it is a stress. And that's really interesting hearing that stress physically manifested, because that really evidences that whole connection, mind, body, soul. You know, we are one flow of different energy. And how good are you at managing energetic expansion and energetic depletion? A lot of the work that I teach and talk about is the fact that all too often we're chasing energy. So we're looking for a quick fix with a coffee or a glass of fizz, and not necessarily honouring natural energetic rhythms. And yet when we learn to acknowledge the fact that we have all the resources within ourselves to expand our energy, and the fact that some things are going to deplete our energy, and all that power lies within, how sensitive are you to your natural energetic rhythms and able to flow across a day, across a week, across a year, in tune with your own maximised energy?
Yeah, I find I've got quite a high level of energy. I was thinking about, why would I have that? I guess it's my passion for my job. It's my attitude to life. I'm here to enjoy my life. I'm excited about my life and my future. I love hanging out with my kids. That gives me such energy, and I give them energy. And I think a really important thing is just taking enjoyment from the small things in life. I really love that. So the other day, it's about 4:30 in the afternoon, I heard the birds were singing for the first time. You know, normally you hear them in the summer, and even they're going to bed as I think about it. And I just stood there and I thought, that's so lovely. It gave me a real boost. You know, and it's just stopping and enjoying that. We shouldn't be chasing the big things in life or living for our holidays, all these things. Just every day is enjoyable.
That's lovely. And you're absolutely right. The joy in the ordinary.
Yeah, the joy in the ordinary.
Yeah, there's real beauty there. So you're devoting your life to following your purpose. And when you told your story at the beginning of this conversation, you talked about always being focused on charities, on giving, even as a young girl at school. And purpose is something that everyone is seeking to find meaning. It is very rare to find someone who's identified their purpose at such a young age. Can you talk to me about purpose and how you started to realise as a little girl, this is what I care about, that's what I care about, and how purpose has really just had the driving force in shaping the woman that you are today?
I guess it's a need to help others. I think all of us have that. I think, you know, in the past we've had to look after our communities because we depended on them for our survival. So I think all of us are charitable and want to help out. I guess as I got older, I really started to learn about the causes of charities, the lack of funding in charities, the lack of skilled people in charities because they couldn't afford to pay the wages of the big commercial organisations. So I think that was always in my mind. I guess it's just helping out. I just want to help out. And I think so many charities are solely reliant on funding. You know, if your child was in a car accident, God forbid, on a motorway, you would absolutely expect the air ambulance to come get him. That's 100% funded by donations, public donations.
Wow. No, I didn't know that.
You know, there's so many charities like that. Lots of the NHS is publicly funded. Yeah, if we go into hospital, we expect to be looked after.
Wow.
So it's that kind of notion of just helping, giving back, paying forward. Perhaps maybe I'm thinking, at the pearly gates, I'm going to get a better reception.
I love that.
Yeah, I hope so.
I love that. So as you look at the entirety of your life, I'm in awe of the fact that you have, at a young age, made a very conscious decision to not pursue financial wealth, but to flip into the altruistic world of philanthropy. What was it like leaving a high-paid corporate financial job, leaping into following your dreams, your heart, and honouring your values. Like practically, what did that mean? Lifestyle change?
Yeah, lifestyle change meant I spent all my savings for the first year. And then I got married, actually, then at that point. So financially, that changed for me anyway.
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough that I was able to not earn very much money, but still continue on my journey.
Yeah.
Would I have been able to do that without that? I don't know. But slowly as we grow the business, we've paid me more.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was different. I was going to Canary Wharf every day on the tube at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then suddenly I'm working from a kitchen table. And I'm working with, no support around me. And the brief is basically just start calling people and see if they want to do this. But you're talking about, instead of talking about, a business unit's profit line and what products we can sell, I'm actually talking about something I really believe in. It's like coming from inside, and it comes from me as, why wouldn't you do this? Yeah. Why are you not doing this? You want to speak to me because I've got a really exciting idea.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're really evidencing that passion is way more valuable than a big meaty paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, the money was lovely.
Yeah.
And I hope in time I can get the business, grow the business even more, and we can pay me and my team, a better wage. But we'll get there.
And if you were to offer your daughters advice based on the money in the corporate sector versus the following your heart, what would that advice be?
Obviously, follow your heart. Do what you love. I have so many friends in jobs that, they don't like, they're not enjoying, they're just waiting to retire. It drives me crazy. Yeah. Do what you love, and the money will work itself out. Yeah.
I love it. So that really lends itself to the next question I'm going to ask, which is, what's your definition of success? Yeah,
success to me is, it's certainly not a destination. It's just a journey, and it's being content, having purpose, doing something meaningful. My success will be continuing to have laughter in my life, looking at my beautiful daughters growing up with this great mindset that I've helped them develop. Professionally, of course, success is about, I've always said I want to get the business raising £1 million a year. We're almost there. But then I know it's going to be 2. I want to take micro giving across the world. There's no end to that. But personally as well, it'll be, watching my children grow up and meeting a partner to share my life with as well. That would be some measure of success for me as well.
That's wonderful. And I love the fact that your ambition continues to grow and expand, and there's no stopping at 1 million.
No.
Why should you ever stop there?
No.
You're a woman clearly on a mission to keep making more and more impact. What's your dream?
My dream, I think that is my dream, is my version of success. It's just to be happy, is to, when you get to the pearly gates, is to look back on life and go, you know what? I've had a happy life. I'm loved. I've loved. And I've been successful. I've done, I've made a difference. Kate was here,
Love that.
That's my dream.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And Kate indeed was here on the sofa at the Big Impact Show. Thank you so much. This has been such a meaningful conversation, and it's so refreshing to really see success redefined in such a way that it's about honouring your heart. And I really do celebrate you and the incredible dent you're making in the universe. Thank you so much for being here today.
I loved that inspiring interview with Kate. And what's sticking with me is how she talked about training that voice in her head to become her coach. What a brilliant idea. When I'm coaching my clients, we spend a lot of time listening to the inner critic and trying to shrink the negative ninniness of that voice. But Kate learned really early on to just go, hang on a minute, we're going to work with this. You're going to become my coach. And so she became really conscious of those voices in her head. And now they're positive. How inspiring is that? If you enjoyed that episode, please join me for the next episode of The Big Impact Show, where I will be interviewing another inspiring, ambitious soul who's stepped into their version of success with grace.